At the end of the last section, we added in this floating action button widget right here, but if we hover over it, you'll see that there's a little bit of a warning that says the parameter onPress is required. Let's take a look at the documentation around floating action button and see if we can't get a better idea of what's going on. So I'm going to go back over to my Flutter documentation, and again on the top right hand side, I'll look up floating action button. And then once I pull up the documentation for that class, I'll scroll down to the constructor. Okay, so here's the floating action button constructor. Inside the list of all these named parameters, you'll notice that there's one called onPressed right here. And that's exactly what that warning message was complaining about. Now right in front of onPressed, you'll notice that there's this thing called @required. @required right here, as you might guess, means that we are required to pass in some value for this onPressed property. So if we create a floating action button, we have to pass in a value for onPressed. So let's first just add in that name property, and then we'll figure out what value we're going to pass into it. Back inside my code editor, I'm going to expand the floating action button. I'll add in onPressed, and then we'll just leave it right there. We're going to go back over to the documentation very quickly and figure out what we need to assign to this. Okay, so back over here, the type of onPressed says that it is supposed to be a void callback. Well, I don't know about you, but that sounds kind of scary. Well, let me give it to you in very simple English. Essentially, we have to pass in a function to this onPressed property. Anytime the user presses on the button, the function that we pass in will be invoked. So all we have to do over here for onPressed is assign a function or create a function. So to create a function right here, I'll put my set of parentheses and then my curly braces like so. So anytime a user presses this button, this function right here is going to be executed. To test out that behavior, let's add in a print statement inside of it. So I'll say print hi there, like so. And then don't forget, we need to add a comma at the end of the function. Otherwise, the entire function will be collapsed automatically. So I'm going to put a comma right there. So let's now save this. We'll try refreshing our emulator again and seeing if we can't get this print message to display if we tap on that button. So I'll pull open my terminal. I'll hit Shift-R again to reload our application. Now I see a button on the bottom right-hand side. It looks like the button is just a very plain blue button, and it's not currently showing that kind of plus inside of it that we had wanted. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work on that front, but let's see if we can press it and see that print statement appear. So if I click on the button, sure enough, we see hi there inside of our terminal. Okay, well, that definitely works out. So let's take a quick pause right here. We'll come back to the next section, and we're going to figure out how we can get that little plus icon to display inside the button as well. So quick break, and I'll see you in just a minute.